Uh, we're going to try and do this live on Facebook Oh, no, we're not. No, we're not. No, we're
Not
not.
this time anyway.
Because I'm videoing it for the later viewing, because we are doing this. Welcome, Rosie Flores. And we're doing this on a Monday and pre-recording because Rosie has her regular Wednesday night live stream, and we don't want to interfere with that because that's too big a show.
I feel bad because I decided to cancel the next 2 Wednesdays, and because I have problems that I have to deal with. I need some time off. And since we already had our time set to do this, I didn't want to shake the tree again, but perhaps I should have let you know.
Well, it's up to you. Would you rather go ahead and do this right now, or would you rather wait until Wednesday?
I'm thinking I'd like to do it now.
Okay, then let's go right on ahead.
Kind of like mentally prepping for it all day long, you know.
We just won't have the live audience that usually joins us, and they sometimes ask questions and that sort of thing.
Oh, well, that's makes it kind of not as fun for people, I guess. I don't know.
I think it's going to be fine because we're going to have plenty to talk about, and so we'll be able to fill up an hour with no problem.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, you know, if it's okay with you, Dianne.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry. Yeah. I should have realized that was why we were doing it. I'm like totally forgot. I have COVID brain. I blame it on the fact that I've been home for 8 months and I don't have a normal life and I don't interact socially with my friends or get out in public. Like, I mean, I was like such a social butterfly my whole life. This just like solitary confinement is really weird.
Yeah, I'm not, it's like my friends aren't even allowed in my house.
Right.
It's like basically repairmen have been the only people that have been in my house in the last.
Friends can walk through, not very many, maybe only 4 of them can walk through with a mask, but they have to do hand sanitizer and they either have to take their shoes off or spray the bottom of their shoes just to walk to the back deck.
Right.
You know? So I'm really as careful as you could be because of my how sick I was last year and the pneumonia I had, and so my doctors are like, you can't go anywhere, you can't go shopping, you just have to get over this mold thing, and so I am feeling so great. I've been on a mold detox diet with supplements. I found a wonderful functional medicine doctor that my ham doctor turned me on to, Dr. Kerr. And I've been following it to a T, Dianne, and I feel, you know, so different in this last month than I've felt of all the 7 months I've been home.
That's wonderful.
8 months. And like, it's weird. It's like I feel more alive. You know, I feel more, sorry, I don't know if you can hear those dingings. I have to turn my phone off. But I don't know. I just feel more present. Like one of the things that really gets you when you have the kind of environmental mold that I ended up getting in my body is it's a neurological problem that affects mostly that, you know, it's very affecting to your brain and sluggishness, bloatedness, headaches, sinus problems, all that stuff that I thought was just normal. I just thought, oh, I'm living in Austin, Texas. It's just allergies, you know. But now that I see the difference and living in a home that's mold free, I'm like, oh, wow, I feel like I'm 35 years old again. That could be dangerous.
That was quite an ordeal that you went through, though. You had to move out of your house and
instantly, yes. Yeah. Like that day, that night, I had to get out of there. And luckily, I had the best landlord, who was actually a friend of mine, who said, get out of there now, which was the biggest favor than anybody could have done to me. She said, I'll pay for your hotel, just go. And she paid for the remediation. And unfortunately, it wasn't in her insurance or my renter's insurance for them to pay for anything like that.
Uh-huh.
Maybe that's only in Austin, Texas, because it is such a moldy place to
Right.
live. I don't know. But I got out of there, and with one of my friends who put me up at his house, and another friend that helped me at her house. And so little by little, I just started feeling better, but nothing, not near as good as I feel from the last 3 weeks of my therapy.
Wow.
That's incredibly different.
Uh-huh.
So I'm a happy girl. I'm just nervous about November 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, we'll see what happens.
I see you're wearing your James Entfeld t-shirt.
Yeah, I really like wearing this t-shirt because it reminds me of my California buddies, and it's long sleeves, so it's nice
Uh-huh.
and toasty for me. I don't know, some of these nights have gotten so cold,
Mm-hmm.
and I had to get a new thermostat put in because my heater wasn't working correctly. So it's like I can get all toasty in the house in the evening, and it's warm. Actually, it's a beautiful day right now.
Right.
It's perfect weather and very dry, and birds are singing, and I need to get out and go for a walk around the neighborhood if I can.
And I'm wearing one of my Nick Curran shirts.
Oh, we're wearing two cool guys' shirts.
Exactly.
Yay. I got it. I got one just like that. I love my Nick Curran stuff. I sure miss him. Oh my God.
Me too.
How long has he been gone?
Let me see. He died in
Has it been
14,
4 years or something,
6 years.
right? Oh, it's been six already.
I'm pretty sure that it was
Wow.
2014 when he passed.
Okay. Yeah. Wow.
Yep.
That's amazing. How time flies. And, I think for me, getting older, I'm in the 70s club like you.
Mhm.
And, when you get older, there's something about it where the time flies quicker. I
Right.
don't understand how that can happen.
Mhm.
It makes no sense to me. But it really does. The months go by like a month feels like 2 weeks
Uh-huh.
to me.
For
And
me, my weeks seem to fly by because I
yeah,
will no sooner have put out my garbage at the street
yeah,
and bring my bins up to the house, and it's
yeah.
time to take them back again.
Well, you know what I do? I talked my neighbor that lives underneath me into doing this. We leave them at the curb, so we don't have to drag them up and down. And it's hard for me because
Ah,
it's a uphill kind of a
uh-huh.
thing to get them. It's kind of goes up and downhill, and it's
Mhm.
it's really heavy for me to roll
I
them
think
back
on
and
our
forth.
street we're not allowed to.
Oh
It,
yeah, that may be the case here, but nobody's told me anything
well,
yet.
as
So
long as nobody says anything, you're good. Let's
I
not
think
talk
I'm
about it
okay for
anymore.
now. Yeah, I think I'm okay. Fingers crossed. But yeah, that's one of those things that you do weekly. Like, when I do my live stream, it's like no sooner I turn around and I have to work on my Wednesday songs
Right.
again. Like it seems
Well,
like.
and thank God, I'm recording this one because I did this great interview last week with Bill
uh,
Jones, Monster Jones, who's
oh,
Kathy Murray's husband. He's
yeah.
a guitar player in Kathy and the Kilowatts, but
Kathy and the Kilowatts. I remember them.
he is also a monster kit maker, and
A
he
monster
makes
kit. Are you,
kit. Yeah,
oh,
you can get monster kits where you can
oh,
put together. You paint your own monsters, and and so he has this entire collection and has won awards all over the country
I want
with
one.
models. I forgot
Oh
to
my
hit
gosh.
record.
What's that last thing?
I forgot to hit record.
Oh, okay. Well, hit record and we'll go again.
We lost the entire interview.
We'll go again then.
Well, that's what I told him. We're going to have to do it again because it was too good. It was too good. We can't.
Oh, I thought you said you forgot to hit record on mine.
No, I forgot to hit record on Bill's last week. We did the
Ah.
entire interview. And then when I went to upload it, there was nothing to upload. And that's
Oh,
when I realized I never hit the
oh,
record button.
damn it.
Oh, yeah. But, things happen.
Yep.
That was the beginning of a very bad day for me.
Oh, no. Don't tell me it got worse.
It did.
Oh, no.
But it's last week. That's done with now.
Yeah, forget about it. Yeah.
Rosie, I have a few questions that I want to ask you.
Okay.
And the first one is, what was your first gig?
Oh, my first gig
Mm-hmm.
was, when I started my little all-girl band in high school, and that was 1960. And oh no, not 60, it was 66, sorry. I was only 10 years old at 60. So it was 1966. I was 16 years old, and I borrowed the gear from my older brother's band. He had a band. He was only a couple years older than me. And so we borrowed the drums and the bass and the chords and this and that. And they always practiced in the garage anyway. So I asked him, can we borrow your gear so we can do the talent show and be an all-girl band? And so he asked all the guys in his band, and they were, sure. Here, honey, here's how you hold your guitar. And they were just like so flirty, those boys. And so we performed at the school show in 1966. I have pictures of it. And my parents came, and we were really accepted well. We were really good. And because the drummer was already a drummer, and the other two guitar players, I had one of them play bass, and she was real studious, so she was great. She played like Paul McCartney or something. She was, and at only 16, she was phenomenal. Of course, the Beatles were 16 when they started.
Right.
And so my dad was so impressed, and I guess they both were, that they decided to take us to the music store and sign for all of our own gear. And back in those days, I mean, we got all Vox equipment because that was really popular. It was what the Beatles were playing through. Vicky got a Hofner, 1965 Hofner bass. I got the Vox guitar that was like Brian Jones from the Stones. It was a teardrop, only mine was black. And I ended up covering it, painting purple lace on it. I was really into purple. And, the Ludwig drums, everything. And so from that moment on, I was in a band, and we were playing at, teenage rec halls, recreation halls, private parties. We even got a gig when we were 18, we ended up getting a gig at the officers club at the Marine base. And then by the time I was 21, I started working at a strip joint with the all-girl band. The personnel had changed a little bit, but I had the same drummer. And she had some bad stuff happen to her. So, eventually I just thought it was really cool to play with guys, and how I discovered this wonderful songwriting guitar player who taught me how to play better leads and how to write songs and write better songs. And so I discovered the joy of playing with men. So, I was like, okay, let's experiment with this for a while.
And so guitar was always your primary instrument?
Yep. I went from being a tap dancer to a guitar player, which I think it's all about the rhythm. So it kind of, I was able to float into that other form of rhythm, and I tell you what, I always wanted to play the piano, and I didn't get one until I moved here to Austin, Texas. And I I used it mostly to tune my guitars. I didn't take, I never took it time to learn it, and it was there in my living room so that T. Jared Bonta could use it when we rehearsed for our Blue Moon Jazz Quartet
Uh-huh.
band, which my jazz group rehearsed at least, once a month. And so right before lockdown, when I moved into this nice mold-free place, my friend Deborah Peters, who's a renowned accordion and player and piano player, she was such a great pal. She was helping me move my stuff from this place to that place and this da 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 da, and helped me get out of storage and into my garage. And she said, well, let's get your piano set up and I'll give you a lesson. So we dug the legs out and we found, oh, here's the chords and here's, put it all together. And she gave me my first piano lesson, and I've been going, crazy with practicing, and, just the joy of finally being able to play the blues and
Uh-huh.
some honky tonk and some Beatles, So I'm an aspiring piano player finally after all these years.
Piano was my first instrument.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh. And I have
Are you still playing it?
piano.
Huh?
I have the old Continental Club piano.
Oh, you do? I would love to hear you play
It's
piano.
the one that Mose Allison, Grey Ghost, Irby Bowser, all of the piano greats that ever played at the Continental Club. It's the piano that they played on.
Was it the upright piano?
Uh-huh.
I remember that piano well.
Yep.
And
Eight
8.5 Souvenirs used to play it.
Uh-huh. Marcia
Yeah.
Ball used to play it. Oh gosh, everybody used to play it.
Everybody,
Yep.
yeah. Probably Gene Taylor used to play it in the Blasters. Gosh darn.
Yeah. I mean, I tried to get Steve to sell it to me for the longest time, and he'd always say, no, no. He didn't
No.
get rid of it. Then one day, out of the middle of nowhere, he said, you still want that piano? And I said, yes. And he said, well, come and get it.
Wow. So then you had to organize a piano mover.
I did. But it was Justin Sherburne, so he knew what he was doing. He got
Good. Yeah. Or it could have been T. Jared Bonta, because he did that for a long time here too.
Uh-huh.
So how old were you when you started learning?
I was 9, I think, either 8 or 9 when I started.
Oh, that's perfect.
I was 8 or 9 when I started ballet and tap, and that was the same year that I started piano.
Yeah. I think you and I had the same, like I was that's the age I was. Maybe a little younger on the tap.
Mm-hmm.
But if my parents had got the piano for me, I would have started at 8, like you.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah, and I had several years of lessons, but I didn't keep the lessons up after a while, and I really only ever played for my own entertainment. That was what I enjoyed. And especially if I was angry about something, go and pound that out on a piano. Oh, you
on the keys. Play some Jerry Lee. Oh, I can't believe he's still around, and they just celebrated his birthday, and
yes,
he's just too mean to die.
Something like that.
Killer.
So, Rosie, let's talk about songwriting.
All right.
And so what is your process for songwriting?
There's different ones. Recently, it seems like sometimes I'll start with a really cool progression, and I'll find some chords on the guitar that have a really good rhythm that I feel like, that would be great for a song. And then I'll start messing around with some words that might pop out as I'm, going ba da 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 da, love you, baby, or something like that, or don't you do me wrong? How can you hurt me now? Down, 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 down. So I'm writing one right now. But otherwise, if I feel uh, inspired about something that's going on, or something, if I'm really happy about something, or if something really yanks my chain, and I'll just have to start writing to as therapy, and it inevitably comes out in rhymes, and then I'll take it and I'll go, oh yeah, I have this rhyme that has a rhythm to it. Let me see what chords will go with it, and then I'll try to finish it that day as much as I can. If I can try to finish it in a day or two, then I've got a song. And so many times, all the way back to when I lived in LA, and some of it when I lived in San Diego, when I was writing for one of my bands back then, um, I would put it in a notebook and I would just go, I'll get back to that later. And as I've been going through all my boxes in my garage,
Uh-huh.
I've been finding a lot of archival stuff. And so I got all of my songwriting notebooks and I put them into a plastic case. I don't know if they're moldy or not. They didn't smell moldy, but I put them in a plastic sealed case anyway. And I decided that, I would start going through those and trying to find some gems, just some lines, some ideas, and
Right.
try to finish them and see if I've got like probably 3 albums worth of ideas in there, and just need to dig in there. And it's for me, like, to do that, it's like a headspace. I have to get into that headspace and make it like this is important for me to be in that creative mode, because sometimes I'll take that creative mode and it'll be all about painting, and I'm like drawing and painting, and then other times it'll be like I'm studying how to play jazz guitar, and I have to practice my guitar licks, and that's the hardest one for me, is learning, really thinking about music theory, and why that note works, and the piano playing is really helping, but to find new positions that my brain doesn't already know by heart, because I've been playing all those regular chords since I was 16 years old, and I can play them all with my eyes
Right.
closed, but I can't play the new ones with my eyes closed, and I have to really spend time on it. It's like learning a new language. It's like learning French all of a
Yeah,
sudden.
it is. Yeah,
But
I
songwriting is, it's something that I need to focus on. I need to focus back on more. And if we do have another year during this, if it's another year before we can be let out of our cages, then I want to make that the priority,
Mhm.
because that'll take me further. That and painting, I think, will help fund my life, um, more than anything. So we'll see what happens.
This has been, for many people, this has been an extremely creative time because
Yeah,
everyone now has the time to
yeah.
learn new things or to perfect something that they'd already started learning, you know.
It's been the silver lining for so many people, and I always often wonder, had I not been uh, had to deal with. Is that bird too loud? There's a bird outside the window. Okay. Actually like the way he sounds, but I don't know. Microphones pick things up in different ways. But I often wonder what I would have come up with had I not been having to go through all of my moving boxes for the last 6, 7, 8 months. And I've got most of it done. I hired Evan, who was the doorman at the gallery, and been paying him to help me, assist me, and we got my car in the garage now. But I have to finish the task, and it's about another 1 or 2 months worth of categorizing.
Uh-huh.
I've been asked to, I'm really proud of this. I've been asked to send some things to the Country Music Hall of Fame because they're
Nice.
going to do uh, a really big show on California country.
Uh-huh.
And they're going to do that era from when I was at the Palomino Club. So they want some, just some songwriting lyrics and some outfits and
Uh-huh.
pictures and stuff like that. So that's kind of pushing me, downstairs to get that done.
Right.
And also the Whitliff Museum has taken a lot of my archive stuff. They took all of my scrapbooks, and I had these beautiful scrapbooks. I paid over $1,000 to have this wonderful gentleman in Nashville. He dug through all of my newspaper articles and posters and photographs, and he put them into these, professional black books that are dated, and they're just beautiful. You open these things up and there's, all these articles. It's like, it's the whole story of me.
It's
If
fabulous.
anybody ever was interested in doing a little documentary, the Whitliff has everything. They've got my 2-inch recording tape from all those years on Warner
Uh-huh.
Brothers and High Tone Records. And, just, I had all that stuff, in the closets. And, I would hate to think that what would happen with all that stuff if anything ever happened to me. So I don't have to worry about it anymore. My little archive, my little history of everything I've done in my crazy little career, is going to be between there and the Country Music Hall of Fame. So that's pretty cool, huh?
Pretty awesome.
I know. I was like, that just like really cheered me up so much to have that out of my way, and know that it's safe.
Right. Yep. And
So,
collected. And that's no easy feat to get everything just collected.
yeah, it's been collected, and I'm still going through all the photographs. That's my next thing, and the books that I'm in. Um, I found some wonderful, and I haven't posted them yet. I found some wonderful pictures of me and Billy Joe Shaver because
Aw.
we did so many shows together. It seems like we started playing, like where I really got to know him from when I was living in LA, and I was playing in Switzerland and Germany and France. We were touring that same circuit. We would get on that same,
Uh-huh.
uh, you know, Western festival kind of things. And so we spent a lot of time, me and him and Eddie, who was on guitar, that Eddie, he just loved the way I played the guitar. He was one of my biggest supporters. And so it was always really encouraging because I thought, oh my God, you're so great. You think I'm good? Wow. And we spent a lot of time eating breakfast and dinners over in Europe and hanging out, all that time at the hotels and everything. And so I have a lot of pictures, and I wish I could, I really wanted to go to his funeral, but my doctor said, I don't advise you to get out yet. This is not a good time
Right.
for, what do you call it? It's going up.
Mm-hmm.
And so he goes, stay put. You'll do a Billy Joe tribute one day. You'll
Right.
pay honor to him, and Jerry Jeff Walker too. In fact, the last time I was at the Whitliff Museum, when I first talked to Hector Saldana about seeing if they were interested in taking my stuff, and Jerry, Jeff, and Susan were there, and they had a whole special Were you there? I can't
Uh-huh.
remember if you might have been there. But it was a whole, exhibit, Jerry Jeff Walker exhibit. And I saw how meticulous they were about putting these shows together. And it had everything from his records and photographs and guitars and song lyrics. And it was, beautifully done. They were a wonderful museum. I
Yeah.
highly recommend it to anybody if you haven't. And I think they're open again. And so he came over when I was starting to go through all my organizing and getting through. I mean, you could even walk through my garage. It was like floor to ceiling. And we got, that's when I started giving him some stuff. And I gave him one of the dresses, the one that I wore on the Crying Over You video from the video that me and James Infeld were in together. And he took that dress and the album cover and he put it in the Whitliff Museum. And the dress is right next to Selena. Her,
Oh, wow.
no, not the dress is next to Lydia Mendoza's dress. So we got the two Hispanic singers next to each other.
Uh-huh.
And then my album cover is next to Selena's album cover. And then there's Cindy Walker's album cover. So that afternoon, he went and put my stuff up in there. I was like, whoa, you guys are fast. I'm like, oh, we don't mess around, you know. Like, I guess you don't. So I felt, you know, I got tears in my eyes when he sent me that picture. I'm like, wow, you know.
Mm-hmm. Back in the late 80s and early 90s, when I had my booking agency open, I used to make sure that all of my artists donated. Anytime they did a new recording or anything like that, I always made sure that they donated a copy of it to the Austin History Museum. John Wheat was in charge of it at that.
Oh, I remember him.
Mm-hmm. And so I used to always make sure that everybody had donated stuff, and I had given them my entire collection of calendars from Green Mesquite that.
Oh, those were so cool.
Yeah, and I can't remember now. I feel awful about this, but I can't remember now if it was Michael Priest or if it was Carry On. I'm not sure now who it was that did all those posters, but
You
anyway,
know,
I donated my entire collection of those.
Good for you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that reminds me of, you know, the Continental Club. Remember that guy, his name was Bill something, and
Bill
he did,
Narum?
I got to be one of the calendar girls at the Continental Club.
Bill Narum.
He did the most meanest looking picture of me. And I was like, he made me look like I was such a bitch in that picture. And he took a bunch of pictures of, like, I had to show up in the afternoon and do a solo acoustic show so he could take my picture. And I was fine to do it. But he picked this picture that looked like I was saying, who are you looking at? You know, you talking to me? And it was just like, I mean, and like that picture and all the other girls and all the guys, I think it was all girls, you know, looked really sexy and cute. And that poster ended up on the back wall, or the back door of the Continental Club. And I came one time from LA to do a show, and somebody had written something really nasty on that poster. And I just took it and I grabbed it off the wall, you know, like, oh my God, that poster's haunting me. And so I was talking to somebody, and they were looking for photographs of me for a poster or something, maybe for my live stream. And they found that darn calendar and they sent it to me. And I'm like, oh no, not that. How do you delete things, you know? I was like, I just look so mean.
They live forever on the internet.
Things that come around to haunt you, man.
I bet I probably have a copy of it on my phone because somebody, and I don't remember who it was, it might even have been Roger One Night might have posted it. I know he had at one point posted a whole bunch of posters from the Continental Club.
I don't think I know him.
He and
Roger One Night?
Roger and Roddy One Night. And they were called that because they were the operators of the One Night, which was the bar that's where Stubbs is now. It's where the One Night is.
Okay, well, you knew that area because you ran the Chicago house.
Yeah, well, I didn't run it, but they let me act like I
Peg ran it.
Peg and Glenda ran it.
Peg and Glenda ran it.
But they did give me one night a week that I could do whatever I wanted with. And
that's what I'm remembering.
Volunteer and work the door and answer the phones and tend bar and whatever.
You were so cool. You were so nice to me back in those days. I'll never forget that.
Aww.
And that's when I used to hang out with Will T. Massey.
Yep.
Jimmy LaFave. We all hung out at the Chicago house. We would just go there all the
Jimmy
time.
was my first client, and I was his first booking agent.
You were?
I was his booking agent for 4 years, I think.
Oh my God, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I remember those days. I moved away back to LA in 1990. So I was here 88, 89,
Uh-huh.
excuse me, and then 90 around, I can't remember if I moved back in January or something like that, but I was used to making real money at the Palomino Club, and I couldn't really afford to pay my rent very well here and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. I had so much fun here, though. I'm really glad I lived here for those 2 years. It was, that's when I got to meet Alejandro and work with him, and
Right.
of course, meeting Jimmy LaFave and Will T and Marsha Ball and
Mm-hmm.
Sarah Brown. I mean, all my girls, and Clifford just took me under his wing and let me play Antones a lot. And he remembered me from the first time I played Antones, and he never forgot. It was when I was on tour with Elvin Bishop, and it would have been gosh, in the late '80s or something. And when it was when Antones was on 6th Street. I think it was the original Antones.
Wow. Uh-huh.
And he just always remembered me, and that always made me feel so good. And but yeah, let's try and remember something from those days at the Chicago house. Like, what can you remember anything special? I mean, like most people have no idea what Austin was like in those days when you could like walk up and down the alleys around there and it was safe.
Yep.
And it was just everything just felt safe, safe, safe. And there was the coolest people hanging around, on 6th Street. 6th Street was, those bars like the Black Cat were there.
Right. And it was original music too. It wasn't all just cover bands.
Yeah, no cover bands.
Really talented bands that some of them did covers, but they were primarily original music bands.
Right, like Ricky and Two Hoots and a Holler.
Absolutely, Chris Thomas,
Chris Thomas, yeah.
King. Oh my gosh, there's so many.
I mean, I played with Jerry Jeff Walker down there at the place that I think maybe is Stubbs now. What was it called? One of those.
Well, before it was Stubbs, it had been closed for years, but it had been the one night.
Maybe that's where I played with Jerry Jeff. And
at Egos, maybe?
What was it called?
Not Egos, I mean Emos was what it later became, but it was oh gosh, no, I can't think of the name of it.
Yeah, it wasn't Emos when I played with him, but who showed up the first night I ever met her? She showed up at our gig and said hello and introduced herself, Tony Price. I'll never forget meeting her and she was so sweet.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Long time ago.
Back in the old days, indeed.
And what was that name of the Steamboat?
Steamboat was one of my favorite places.
I used to like playing there, and Dale Watson, I think, used to play there. Did he move back here by then? I can't remember when he moved back.
Well, I don't remember what year it was either.
Yeah. I'm the one that talked him into moving to LA because I knew he was going to be a huge hit at the Palomino. He loved it. He loved playing Palomino. But I guess he must have moved, him and his wife at the time, Nikki, moved back to Austin. And that was back in the days when Steve Dean was doing his, what was it called, right next to the Continental Club?
Yes, that place.
That place. My brain. But that was such a cool, it was something with a sun.
Yes, Under the Sun.
Under the Sun, yeah.
Yep.
And at first they had like food there, and then it turned into a thrift store.
Right.
I'm getting all nostalgic on you guys now.
That turned into kind of a complicated ordeal.
Yeah, it did. And now it's some kind of hoitsy-toitsy Beverly Hills kind of.
No, it's not.
What is it now there?
Botticelli's is gone.
Oh, that's the room that Botticelli's took over.
Yep.
I'm so sad that Botticelli's is gone.
We all are.
Love Botticelli.
And now apparently there's a new place going in there. I don't know where they're at in having it open, but there's a new, I think, restaurant that's going in there.
Oh, well, at least it's going to be a restaurant, not a sunglasses place or something.
Well, I don't know. I think they're planning on doing music, but we'll see how that goes.
Oh, wow.
They've got that great patio in the back.
It's perfect.
They did music in. And I'll never forget the first time, not the very first time, but during the early times that Botticelli started doing music out there.
Yeah.
Apparently the music was pretty loud.
Oh.
The neighbors in the condos up on the hill, they called the police and reported it was the Continental Club.
Oh, they thought it was the Continental Club?
Right. But it wasn't us, it was Botticelli's.
Yeah, because there was outdoor music.
Yeah.
That's why.
And they thought that it was us with our door open.
Oh, yeah. Well, your door is really big and thick. You can't hear anything.
Yeah.
And it's really well designed, that door.
But
so that's why that's why they wanted jazz and acoustic music. And that makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. They were good neighbors and had great food. Whenever I had anybody visiting from out of town, I always took them there for dinner.
Yep. Me too. Yeah, because you knew the food was going to be great and the service was too.
Yep. But, things are changing. That's all there is to it.
You can't do anything about it. I wonder what those guys are going to do. I wonder if they're going to think about opening another restaurant someday. Does anybody know?
I don't know really. I haven't heard anything about what they've decided, but it wouldn't surprise me if they did because they were successful.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And they know how to do it. And I don't think it's even their first restaurant. I think they've done it before, maybe in another, I don't know, wherever they were from, New York or Chicago, maybe. But I wonder where their bartender, Michelle, went. I used to really like going in there and hanging out with her and having a salad before I went to sing.
Yeah, I don't know where any of their employees have gone. It's like so many people are out of work in, the whole industry.
All the Continental Club and Seaboys employees are out of work.
Yeah.
Are they still taking donations?
Brilliant bunch, and almost everybody has found some other outlet. And so, we're smart, we're tough, we're resilient.
Yep. Resilience is the keyword.
Yeah. And, God bless Steve.
God bless Steve. Yeah. How's he, it's hard to say, ask a question, how's Steve doing? It can't be great, but hopefully he's adapting,
It's challenging. He did receive grants, but he was only allowed to apply for one venue, but we have 3. And the money the grants that he actually received were only for the Continental Club, but he's had to use it for the Continental Club, the Gallery, and Seaboys. So it didn't go very far, but at least he got them, which was more than a lot of other people did. I was shocked to find out that the Saxon didn't even get a grant.
That's amazing. Oh my God.
It is amazing.
I cannot even believe that.
Yep.
That amazes me that they didn't. I mean, they've been around at least as long as the Continental Club.
Well, not quite. I mean, the Continental Club has been in existence, operating as the Continental Club since 1955.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So, and it has a musical history through almost all of those years.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, our first residency band was the Mascots from Houston.
Uh-huh.
And one of the guys in the band was Sergeant Carter on Hogan's Heroes.
Sergeant Carter? I used to love Sergeant Carter. He was funny. My father never missed a version of that. It was on all the time.
Yeah.
That was our.
Larry Hovis.
What's his last name?
Larry Hovis, Hovis.
Yeah, Hovis. Larry Hovis. Wow.
They'd won an Arthur Godfrey Talent Hour contest. Recording contract.
What?
And the owner of the Continental Club was from Houston, and so he knew that band, the Mascots.
Yeah.
And so they needed a place to play before they started touring.
Yeah.
And so Morin Scott, who was the original owner of the Continental Club, brought them up from Houston on Friday and Saturday nights to play for the supper club crowd.
Oh, wow.
So in 1955, Larry Hovis was playing every Friday and Saturday night at the Continental Club.
Oh my God, that's so cool. What, are there pictures?
Yeah.
I would love to see those pictures.
Actually, Larry Hovis's half brother is Tom, that owns Green Mesquite.
Oh.
They were half brothers, and Tom used to have a page dedicated to Larry that had all kinds of photos and MP3s of recordings of the band. And
I'll be darned.
yeah.
So was he a singer or a player or both? Or
I think he played upright bass, but he also, I think everybody in the band sang.
Yeah. He looks like a bass player.
Uh-huh.
I could see that.
Yeah. And then, he went on to teach at Southwest Texas down in San Marcos.
Oh.
And
did he teach acting or music?
I think he was teaching music.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. That is crazy.
Hang out for Jane Mansfield when she was a student at UT.
Really? I didn't know Jane Mansfield was a student at UT.
Yep.
Was she a Texan then or just a transplant?
I'm not sure.
Wow. She was so cool. Love to see pictures of her on campus. Wonder what she wore,
Pictures of her at the Continental Club, unfortunately. We wish we had, but
I bet. Yeah. So isn't it actually 4 venues that Steve has, because the Houston Continental Club?
Well, only 3 in Austin. In Houston, there's the Houston Continental Club, and then there's also Shoeshine Charlie's Big Top Lounge.
Oh, so he's got 2 there. Yeah, I love Shoeshine Charlie's Big Top Lounge. That's an amazing room. That little vibe there. And I haven't spent near as much time in Houston as I should have. And when everything opens up, I'm going to make it really important to go down there more often, because I actually have a lot of friends down there. And I was doing the On the Green thing for a while. But yeah, I need to go down to Houston more. And I'm just trying to, like most musicians, trying to make a plan for when everything opens up. Like, how am I going to do this time so that I can make a decent living and can pay my bills and make more records and write more songs and, just how do I exist, Like I'm just chomping, like me and everybody else, we're just chomping at the bit to get back on it.
Right. Yeah. And, I don't know. I can't say for certain, but I may never be able to go back to my job at the back door.
And why is that?
Well, because, it's like I have several different issues as far as COVID-19 goes. So until there is some sort of effective vaccination for it, I'm not sure that it's going to be safe for me to be there, especially being in the position that I'm in because I mean, everybody wants to hug me.
I know the problem.
So what do? So no, stay away, keep back.
It was so hard for me because to try not to shake people's hands or hug them. Actually, right before the, when I was sick with 2019. I had bronchitis, of course,
Right.
from the mold, like off and on every 3 months, um, and then at the very end, when I went to LA to go do my New Year's Eve show with James Infeld, I ended up coming down with this strange pneumonia or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I by the time I got well, by January 28th, I was having to go to the cruise ship for the,
Right.
Outlaw Country cruise ship. And straight from there, I had to go to Spain for a Rockabilly Festival for a week. And straight from there, I had to fly to London. And I was going to work real hard for a week. And boy, did they work me hard. But I was so afraid from being so sick that I wouldn't get near anybody. So I was already social distancing,
Mm-hmm.
and I wore a mask on the airplanes to and from.
And thank God you did, Rosie.
Thank God I did.
Yeah.
Because I didn't, it was apparently in Spain where I was, it was like so crowded with kids for the Rockabilly Festival, but it was so hard for me. I wouldn't shake anybody's hand or let anybody hug me, and I would say, "Oh, I'm sorry, but my immune system's really weak right now, and I can't be around anybody." And I'm still, I would just tell them I might still be sick, so you don't want to get anything from me. And people would say, "No, it's okay. I'll hug you anyway." And I'm like, "No, you can't hug me." And it was like such a challenge, to do that. And you're right. It's a really good thing that I did that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was able to come back. I never got sick again. I've never been sick ever since, and I don't know if I had COVID or not in those early days. It might have been.
Mm-hmm.
They don't, I just read something today that even if you did have the antibodies, that's no guarantee that you can't get it again.
Right.
So, but if I did have it and the antibodies did sort of protect me, maybe, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody knows at this point.
That's part of the problem. Nobody really does know.
We don't know. It's the Twilight Zone.
Kind of. Yeah. So, Rosie, going back to songs again,
Mm-hmm.
what is your favorite song to perform?
Oh gosh, that's the hardest question I've ever been asked. I don't know that I have. You mean something that I wrote or something that somebody else wrote?
Either or.
Yeah.
Okay, wait a minute. I'm going to give you a minute to think about that while I ask you this.
Okay.
What song do you wish you had written?
Oh, yeah. Gosh. I wish, I've been thinking about this song a lot lately, of course, because, we lost our dear friend John Prine.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the greatest song he wrote, and I always wish that, I could have written something as dear as Hello in There, where he talks, about the aging couple and
Right.
how they can be forgotten. Maybe me getting older, I can relate to it more, but I do remember back in the early days when I used to tour with them and open for them that song always just blew my mind and made me put tears in my eyes. I like songs that make me cry.
Uh-huh.
I like songs that make me feel some way, there's just the emotion and what you can do. I have a song that makes people cry that I wrote with Don Henry after my dad passed away called Who's Gonna Fix It Now? And sometimes my Bandera Highway song that I wrote will make people it'll make grown men cry. I used to remember when I was touring in Germany, there was this big, tough drummer with all the tattoos. And he would, after I got off stage, he would always be, "You made me cry again, Rosie." So, but as far as like for rocking, songs to rock out to, I have to say I'm such a Dave Alvin fan of his songwriting. He's written so many songs I wish I had written. But I really love in a long white Cadillac. And I got that when I was producing Janice Martin. I said, you gotta hear this song. I think it'd be perfect. And she took to it like a moth to a flame, and she recorded it. And so I've been kind of doing her version when I try to perform her songs with me and Marty Braun, and try to promote, sell those records that unfortunately she never got to see come out because of her cancer. But I love performing that song. It's I like to close the show with it, as he does as well. But you think about that. That's just really like early rock and roll stuff. Like kind of like Chuck Berry songs that Chuck Berry would have written, or this reminds me of a Little Richard song. It all goes back down to those rhythms and that rock and roll that
right.
Made all of us want to play, and like made the Beatles want to play, made the people want to write songs, and all the songs like Roy Brown wrote, and a lot of the black artists were the best rock and roll songwriters, that ever existed and influenced all of us.
And who were your biggest influences?
Well, I mean, certainly, Chuck Berry was the first guitar stuff I ever learned. And I really loved singing his songs because they were so rhythmic, and maybe coming from being a tap dancer, I used to love playing with rhythms. And so I loved a lot of that. And I loved, when Bob Dylan came out, I was crazy about the rhythm and the poetry in his lyrics. And so I kind of cut my teeth on a lot of Dylan and Joan Baez songs. My parents got me the songbooks. And so I was just sit there and learn all the chords and learn how to sing all those melodies. And it taught me, probably Dylan was the first influential guy that made me want to write. Whereas Chuck Berry made me want to sing and play, but Bob Dylan made me want to write. And those folky tunes were so poetic, and they had something to say.
Right.
I remember when like a Rolling Stone came out, that song to me was like, it was like he was like the Messiah to my little 16-year-old self, who was the bohemian painter, art student that, wore, clothes that I would get kicked out of school for wearing. You're a hippie. You're dressed like a hippie. Do you smoke pot? And I'm like, no. And then a week later, I get busted going into a Strawberry Alarm Clock concert for having a joint in my cigarette pack. And like, you have to we're going to tell the principal of your school. And the principal calls me and said, well, if you don't tell your mother, we're going to call her. So that was, that was the worst I did. I wasn't really a bad kid.
And that was back in the days when those kinds of threats actually carried some weight.
Yeah. Yeah, it did.
Tell your mother.
Yeah. So I remember, my mom was so cool. I remember when I told her, I was so scared of her reaction. Do you know what I did? I had this really long, beautiful sort of Yoko Ono kind of hair. And I cut my hair. I was like so freaked out that I cut my hair. And I guess I cut it into kind of a shag or something, but I was trying to make myself more straight, I think. Uh-huh. And I cut my hair and I told my mom, and I thought she was gonna like maybe even hit me or slap me or something, you know. But she was so cool. She just looked at me and she said, "What'd you want to go and do that for?" And that was as mad as she got. I said, "Well, because, you know, everybody else is doing it and it's kind of it's kind of like no big deal anyway. You know, it's not even like getting drunk." You know, I said, "It's just like whatever all the kids are doing." And she said, "Yeah, but it's illegal and you're only 16 or whatever I was." And she said, "You know, don't do that anymore," you know. And she was just a great mom. She made it seem like that's not cool, you know. So, but I don't know how I got on that. How did I get on that, Diane? Talking about.
Just because you were talking about Dylan and going to Strawberry Alarm Clock and getting busted.
So somehow Dylan, but anyway, so Dylan was that, you know, once upon a time you feel so fine through the bums of dime in your prime, didn't you? And I'm like, yeah, I did, you know.
Yep.
And I just like everything he said, I just related to, and so did all my little artsy fartsy, you know, musician and arty friends, painter friends. We all, you know, so you know, like now I have Bob Dylan hair. I'm like reverting back. You know, my COVID curls came back out. You know, it's like I can't get my hair straightened anymore. So I guess this is the new me. But yeah, those songs meant a lot in that era, and then moving into falling in love with the blues and you know playing you know Sonny Terry, Brown and McGee, and Albert Collins, Albert King, BB King, played all the Kings and Hank, because the only musicians I really knew were all the boys that were my brother's friends. So I would hang out in different moms and dads' you know living rooms or dens and get your guitar, let's hang out and pick, you know. And so we started getting into playing the blues back then, you know. And when I was a teenager and discovering all those records that we actually kind of came to through the Rolling Stones, because the Rolling Stones were so cool and they were playing the blues. They were just copying all those guys. So, you know, I just moved from them to the Beatles, and Everly Brothers took me to country music, took me to rockabilly, took me to Tammy Wynette and Patsy. I mean, it was my path is so easy. It makes so much sense, you know.
Right.
Little path of influences, you know. And then into punk rock when I lived in LA, and you know.
And that was the time of the Screaming Sirens, right?
Yeah, I went from Palomino to punk, because right when I was playing the Palomino was when that Urban Cowboy movie came out. And it sort of changed. Do you remember that when like Texas became like really popular with Gillies and Billy Bobs? It became like it was like a trend to dress up like a cowboy on the weekends.
Right.
And it was like it was almost like putting a Halloween costume on, and everybody would go out and dress up like a cowboy. And they didn't want to hear my original songs. They didn't want to hear my favorite Tammy Wynette or Johnny Cash or Merle Haggard songs that I was playing. They wanted to hear everything from the movie, you know, looking for love in all the wrong places, you know, which I actually like those songs now. But back then, you know, it was like, no, I'm going to play my own songs. And so I just felt like country music became really fake. And I'm like, I don't want any part of it. And my friend said, well, let's go hear X. And there's a band called the X, and there's the Alley Cats and Top Jimmy and the Rhythm Pigs playing the Whiskey a Go-Go. Let's go there. And I'm like, okay, you know. So I went there, and I felt like a fish out of water. You know, I was like, well, I don't need to be wearing my cowboy shirts and my cowboy boots. I need to get me a leather jacket and some, you know, motorcycle boots to fit in, you know. So that's when I started meeting the girls that I later became, you know, bandmates with in the Screaming Sirens. And uh, started playing Cafe de Grand and Club 88, and I can't even remember all the names of the clubs we played, Music Machine. And so I spun off. I totally spun off and just stopped being the leader of the band, and just, came to Austin and played the Ritz. Remember when the Ritz was a punk
Oh, yeah.
club? What is the Ritz now?
It's
It's the Alma Draft House.
yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, the Ritz was cool. I met the Hickoids in those days, and we played the Continental Club.
Uh-huh.
That was
Mark
when
and Jeanette had it.
that was in what?
When Mark and Jeanette had it.
That's
They
right.
had Liberty Lunch, and
Yep.
the Continental was their feeder club for the Liberty.
Yeah, it was before Steve.
Yeah.
And it was the stage was high.
Uh-huh.
It was higher up, and there was this pole that went. It was like on the stage, and it went all the way up. What was that, like for strippers back in the day or
I
something?
don't know.
But it was a pole, and I used to love leaning on it when I would play my solos. I would just lean on it and just kind of, I made use of it,
Right.
And one of my very favorite gigs was I opened for Joe Ely, and we were both solo, and that would have been maybe 1980. I want to say 89. It was the last year I lived in Austin, and everybody sat on the floor hippie style, and the room was packed, and I swear to God, I probably never did a better performance than I did opening for Joe. Had the crowd, in the palm of my hand. They were going nuts, and then when Joe got up, he brought me back on stage, and we did a duo together. And Clifford Antone was in the house that night. And he always told me, he goes, "You and Joe are magic together. You got to do something again. But I'll never forget that. That was the best Continental Club gig I ever did. So fun.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Memories.
We got them, girl.
Yeah, we do. What was your favorite night ever of the Continental Club? Probably hard question.
It's a very hard question, but I think it was actually Chris Christopherson.
Oh my gosh.
Because it was just him on one of our high chairs.
Oh my gosh, I wish I would have been there.
With his acoustic guitar.
How did I miss that? What year was it?
South by Southwest.
Oh, South by.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Was that then? Might have been the year I met him, when he came and he came up to me at Las Manitas.
Yep.
And complimented me on my aromatherapy cowgirl song. He told me that's a great song, and I'm like, whoa, thank you, Chris Christopherson. Oh, was he a great songwriter? That Sunday Morning Going Down, did he do that one?
He pretty much did all of his hits.
Me and Bobby McGee.
Mm-hmm. And the thing was, the place was jam-packed.
Wow.
I mean, jam-packed.
It's probably why I couldn't get in.
So absolutely silent, because everyone was just hanging on every single word.
I'll bet.
I mean, it was really powerful, very powerful. Yeah. And
wow.
There have been so many great nights at the Continental. It's hard to pinpoint one. Another one would be when Buck Owens, first of all, is standing in front of the stage because he attended one of our Buck Owens birthday bashes.
And that was the one I missed.
1994. And first he's standing in front of the stage crying while Derailers are playing.
Oh, he cried.
Yes. And then he actually played with Kelly Willis.
He did.
Yeah, he and Kelly did a duet.
Oh, is there pictures of that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I want one.
And, for years he had said to Casper, I might show up this year. But, yeah, of course, he never did. And then
I remember him saying that, yeah.
Sent Casper one of his guitars, one of the red, white, and blue.
Oh, the red, white, and blue, yeah. I heard about that.
Casper had already received it, but then when he showed up for the Buck birthday bash, he actually presented it to Casper.
He was so cool when he used to give those guitars away. Apparently, I heard that he had a bunch of them in his garage.
I bet he did.
He had a barrel of them, and that he would have a plaque made and he would present them. I knew a couple people that he had presented them to, and I know that's got to be one of Casper Rawls's treasures of his life.
Absolutely is. Yeah.
And one of my friends lost one in his house burnt down, and he lost that guitar in a fire. I felt so bad for him.
We used to call Buck every year from the birthday bash, and everybody would sing happy birthday to him over the phone.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I don't know where Casper, I don't know if you remember the 1994, I broke my wrist, and they ended up doing they raised all this money they ended up doing it at Antone's. And everybody came out and played. And I was like, okay, I'm never allowed to ever feel like nobody loves me after that. But somehow or another, Casper had gotten in touch with Buck Owens, and he got a telegram. And the telegram said something like, it had the Buck Owens logo on the paper and everything, stationery, and the radio stations and everything from Bakersfield. And he said something like, "Dear Rosie, I heard about your big break." And he said, if I was a better guitar player, I'd come and play guitar for you.
Oh.
He said, but seriously, please get well soon. Your friend, Buck Owens. And I just treasure that.
Oh, of course.
That Casper got for me. And I don't know if he had him, fax it to his home or whatever, but that was the sweetest gesture that, Casper ever did.
Right.
To get that, so sweet.
Casper was one of the first interviews that I did for Continental Confidential Live. And when we got on doing the interview, he said, well, I almost had a surprise for you, but it didn't work out. He said James Burton was going to come on with me as a surprise, but then so and that would have been a great surprise.
That would have been killer surprise. But if I was watching it, I would have been like, what? I just heard that James posted, did you see where James posted on Facebook? He was voted in the top 100 greatest guitar players of all time. And I'm like, yeah, of course.
Rightly so.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer.
One of the things Casper and I talked about was one of my greatest memories was, okay, so it's always a big deal when James Burton shows up anyways.
Right.
But particular night, first Casper comes in, then James comes in right behind him, and I'm all excited because James is there. But who's behind James? Alvin Lee.
You mean Albert Lee?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, those guys are definitely good friends.
Oh, yes.
They're playing with Emmylou Harris and recording. I think that's where they probably met, was when they were both recording for Emmylou in those early hot band days.
Yep.
And, Albert credits James for being his biggest influence. I've read that several times.
Wow.
He loved his playing. I guess from playing with how he used to play with Ricky Nelson, and I don't know if was he one of the original Everly Brother guitar players?
I don't know if it was original or not.
I'm not sure who played on all those Wake Up Little Susie.
I'm not sure.
All that kind of stuff. It was either him or it could have been Grady Martin or Hank Garland. It was one of those Nashville studio cats that just played on everything. Elvis to Wanda Jackson to everybody,
Yep.
But James Burton's style is so beautiful. It's like beautifully fluid, and all that stuff he did with Jerry Lee and all the times I got to see him play with him. And he has that way of rocking out that's just so fluid. It's a beautiful work of art. So how long have you been doing Continental Confidential?
Well, I started it about 3 months ago, three
Oh,
months ago, I guess.
wow.
And I was only going to do it once a month. Or then I
Uh-huh.
thought, well, I'll do it once every 2 weeks. But then there were just so many people to include. It was like, oh, well, I just have to start doing it every week.
And what time does it air?
It airs at 5 o'clock on Wednesdays.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I guess I could say to my friends that are out there that I'm taking 2 weeks off from Three's a Charm,
Uh-huh.
so I won't be following this show with my 6:30 happy hour
Right.
for the 2 weeks, and I'll be back on November 18th when I'm going to be doing a tribute to John Prine songs.
Oh,
Yeah, and I'll do a couple of weeks, and then I'll do a couple of weeks in December, and I'll do a Christmas show, and then I would take a break for the rest of December
uh-huh.
and just concentrate. I need some time to work on. I have to have my cataracts done and finish getting through all these archive stuff. So I'm going to need to buckle down, and then I can go back and play again and spend more time being creative and be there. I have such great followers. I'm really blessed with the people that have been showing up and supporting the cause, and it's just been a win-win situation. So I love the fact that we can do the live streams and live
Yes.
stuff.
And your shows have been great. And it's only 3 songs. So if you miss it, you miss it.
Yeah. Well, no, if you miss it, you can go back to it.
Well, you can, yes.
Yeah, but you can't interact
But
with.
if you want to watch it live,
Yeah, which I'm terribly sorry. I'm terribly sorry that this isn't live right now for everybody that's watching, and that was kind of a faux pas for me.
and we've actually right now already done the longest one I've done yet.
Oh, well, you were right. The time just flies when you get to time. But that's just like us sitting there at the back door at the Continental Club.
Exactly. And that's what I keep saying every week. This is exactly what it's like. It's like being at the back door and my friends
Yep.
are just dropping by and sitting down and talking with me.
Yeah. And are you still making your jewelry and your little?
I am. I'm doing my jewelry and I'm painting now. I'm doing
Oh,
watercolors and I've sold quite a few of them.
great.
Yeah, and now getting ready for Christmas. I've been crocheting again and I'm making all of my cat butt coasters and
Oh,
making,
good.
and this year I've added dish scrubbies. I've got the scrubby, 100% polyester scrubby yarn to make scrubbies.
I want to order some of those for Christmas presents.
Yeah, I've got
For
some
me.
really cool ones. I got some new colors of them. So they're
Do you have an Etsy store, or what do you have? How do you?
no, it's my Facebook page.
Oh, so it's just
Scott's
sells on the Facebook page.
Artwork.
Okay, that's where we can go to get them.
Yep, Dianne Scott's Austin Artworks,
Austin Artwork.
and it's artworks with a Z.
Artwork, WORKZ.
Z. Yeah.
Ah, and I have started an Etsy store for a lot of the wardrobe that I ended up going through for like years and years of collecting. So my Etsy store is called Rosie's Rock and Roll Rags.
Oh, nice.
So we've already sold quite a few pieces, but there's a lot more that we keep adding to it. And it's different shoes and boots and jackets and dresses and things like that that I've worn on stage. So basically my stage clothes, and they're not really rags, but
Right.
that's a hip word for clothes, man. That's beatnik talk.
So what about your paintings? Where can people find those, Rosie?
Oh, well, you can see this one right here. This is my Louis Armstrong.
And
I'll be selling these. Some of the ones I'll be doing Giclee prints of those.
uh-huh.
And I'm trying to gather up a few more pieces of art. I'm gonna Giclee print some of my photographs because I've got some wonderful photographs that are very artistic. and some of my paintings. I'm going to be starting an Etsy store for particularly just my artwork.
Uh-huh.
I don't have it up yet, but if anybody's interested in anything now, like the Louis Armstrong or something, you can contact me, message me on my Facebook page, which is Rosie Flores, at Rosie Flores Official.
Any
That,
people that would like to make donations to you specifically?
oh, if they want to help, that would be great. I'm trying to save up money for my cataract surgery. It's so expensive. I'm not going to really do any kind of a crowdfunding on that or anything, but some of my friends have asked me, can we help donate and stuff? But it's PayPal me, PayPal me /Rosie FL, something like that. It's on my,
Actually, I have it in the event thing for this, so
oh, okay, yeah.
I
There,
will copy it into the chat when we get done.
oh,
So
that's so
people can
sweet.
see it.
That's so sweet. Thank you. Yeah, that's really it's been my savings grace. My friends at Mule Kick Productions, which is where I go live from, as you know, are the ones that talked me into it when I was penniless and starting the lockdown penniless, and some friends helped me out and I was able to get my rent paid. It's like, well, why don't you do a live stream? Maybe you'll make a little bit of rent money that way. And
Right.
like, do you think, and I really didn't think it would work, but I just tried it and it's like, oh, I made $100. Like, yay.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that was cool. And it's gone up and down, but I'm,
Mhm.
I like to think that I'm not doing it just for the money because if I can make somebody happy and make somebody laugh, I get so silly on there and do the happy dance and everything. If
Right.
I can, just make people forget about reality for a minute, it helps me and them,
Right. And that's
psychologically.
Wednesdays at 6:30, and she's not doing them every week anymore. So you got
Yep.
to go to her page, check it out to find out when Rosie's going to be live with that.
Yeah.
Um, Rosie, we're going to wind it up, but thank you so much for being here with me today.
Oh, it was my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And next week, I'll be back with the one and only Carolyn Wonderland.
Oh, I want to see that one.
Yep,
Oh my
that'll be
goodness.
fun.
Oh, I love her.
Um,
One of my favorite guitar players
I,
and singers.
she's a monster.
She's a monster.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
Yep, and a half. She's a cute monster, though.
Absolutely.
Cute little redheaded monster.
So it sure has been fun, honey. And I
Yeah,
look forward to seeing y'all in person when we can actually hug.
I know. Or even if we can't hug, I wish I could see you in person anyway.
Well, this is as close as we're going to come for a while, I'm afraid. But
Well, it was almost like being at the back doors, so thank you. It was a gift. It was a gift to spend time with you, my dear.
and we'll get to do it again sometime.
Okay,
This
sounds
won't
great.
be the last time we do this.
Okay, good. Well, maybe next time I'll play a song or something.
Yay, that would be lovely. And in the
Okay.
meantime, y'all take care. And to all of our viewers out there on Wednesday, so sorry we couldn't go live, but we've got this and it's an extra long edition. It's an hour and a half long instead of 1 hour.
Wow.
And so there we go.
There we went. Here we go. I'll see you guys November 18th live.
Okay.
All
Bye,
right.
Rosie.
Bye, honey. Love you.
Love you too.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for watching.